exercise sequence utilizes the foam roller. Some of us have a love-hate relationship with this divine item, which allows us to stretch and release our fascia, but can also be really painful. Many of us know it for the IT band rollout, right? Today we're going to use it for more core stability and just relaxing, rejuvenative, joint mobilizing work. So I am going to roll down onto the roller. If that's challenging for you, you can always basically lay on your side and lift up onto it like so to keep your spine in a neutral position. The roller is great because it allows your collarbones to drape open, the shoulder blades turn downward. They kind of open like a book would open and release over the roller so that it's a real opening for the sternum, the pectoralis muscles, allows for the vitality of the lungs as the lungs can expand when the rib cage is more open. So this really helps to open anteriorly. It also gives us a lot of insight into the balance and symmetry of our spine side to side. So if we feel like we're falling off to one side, we might gain more awareness of the fact that we do tend to lean more on one side of the body than the other. So basically in the beginning, you're going to do a body scan and feel if you're tipped on one side of the hip more than the other, and just see if you can gently weight the opposite hip. Without much muscle, without too much striving, just sinking and melting. Those are the words you want to work with on the roller here. Usually when the chest opens, so does the front of the ribs, so you're going to also look to sink and melt the back of the ribs down. You can do that with breath, inhaling into the back of the rib cage region and exhaling, letting the spine in between those ribs sink down without letting that low back sink down, okay? And then a lot of us are going to find our heads like this, especially men. This is going to cause increased sympathetic tone, which is known. People who have this position when they're laying down are more apt to have heart disease as they get older. So really important biomechanically to keep the back of the neck long. And so you might just want to work on that a little bit, not by forcing it so much, but again, by letting it sink down into the roller. You might even move your head side to side like this. You might do some cervical nods like this. Very helpful to put the tongue on the roof of your mouth. That's going to release some of these posterior back of the neck muscles. I can't do that right now because otherwise I can't talk, okay? But you can do the whole sequence with your tongue on the roof of your mouth. It's kind of like in gyro breathing in yoga. So, legs run parallel to each other, second and third toes facing forward, arms by your sides. Taking some deep breaths into the full circumference of the rib cage, focusing primarily on the upper ribs, side ribs, and back ribs. And on the exhale, softening the front lower ribs. Imagine the inhale filling the lungs like they're two balloons, inflating and deflating. And then from here, you're going to gently press through the heels. That will activate the deep spinal muscles, cinch the waist, and raise one arm up towards the ceiling, and then perhaps the other arm. You're going to screw the head of the arm into the shoulder socket by turning the elbow creases to face each other, palms face each other as well. And then you can draw little circles here. As you draw the circles, it's going to challenge your stability on the roller, so you're going to have to pull into your core a little bit more. Maybe put a ball between the knees. These circles can gradually get bigger and bigger. Now some will bring the arms all the way overhead. If you do that, also draw the ribs down and in, and this will facilitate a great stretch of your lats in particular, but also of the pecs, because you're going to be stabilizing the origin of those muscles by drawing the ribs in and down, getting a nice stretch of the lats and the pecs. And then you can open around, get those pecs to open, bring the arms down by your sides. You can reach the shoulder blades down the back of the ribs and repeat those circles. You can reverse the direction as well. Everyone knows these circles. I'm trying to add some cues in here to bring a little bit more awareness into the work and some refinement into your biomechanics. Also a great place to do the W stretch. The idea with the W stretch is to keep the forearm as parallel to the ground as you can muster. So you're not going into internal rotation, but you're staying into more external rotation. As soon as you internally rotate, you shorten the attachment point of the pectoral muscles. When you externally rotate, you allow the width across the collarbones and the pectorals to open with more effectively. So from here, you squeeze your shoulder blades down and together and bring the elbows down to your sides. You do not have to touch your sides. It's more important to keep the forearms in a constant plane. After doing a few of those, you may pull down and hold down. Keep the shoulder blades still and just move the head of the arm by doing just little snow angels of sorts. Bent elbows, snow angels. And then go ahead and you can start reaching all the way up, drawing the ribs in and down, and then pull down. And pull down. Okay. Shake it out. I like to go in and out, in and out, in and out, and bring the arms down. Now let's warm up the legs with a few toe taps. Draw the cinching action in and down while pressing through the heels to keep the deep spinal multifidi muscles active. And then after pressing down through the heels, see if you can keep these muscles active and release the pressure through the heels. So you're drawing more weight into the torso. Hands can push a little bit as if you're pushing down towards your feet. That way, I'm going to exaggerate it, you can see the base of the skull moves in the opposite direction. Because whenever we do core work, some of us will go into this like bearing down kind of position. I'm totally exaggerating right now. So it's really important to keep integrity in the upper body. Use your hands to push down, activating the shoulder blade stabilizers, keeping the base of the skull away from the sacrum, the back of the neck long. And then you're going to cinch the waist, lighten up the weight on one foot, bring that knee up, and you might start with just one leg. As the leg lowers down, you exhale to engage the abdomen. Many people are going to want to exhale on the way up. We reverse that to put the emphasis, the focus on the core muscles. Other side. You don't have to touch your hand here. I just like to do that because you're giving your muscles some sensory feedback with your hand, and you're also able to feel the muscle contract underneath your hand. Because these deep core muscles, in this case the transversus and the lower obliques, they're postural muscles, so they're not going to get that burny feeling that you'd get from doing biceps. So you have to work more proprioceptively with them. What I mean by that is you have to feel them more through knowing where your joints are in space. A very common thing when people do leg toe taps, or heel taps, is to move from the lumbar spine and not dissociate the hip socket. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of the exercise and causes way too much lumbar strain. Usually on one leg, it's a lot easier. As soon as you graduate to alternating, you're gonna see this happen. So you really want to take the weight off the foot before you actually move it from the mat. Keeping the stability in your core. What the roller does is it just increases the intensity because you have to really work your balancing muscles. And in so doing, it really hones in the work in a way that doing it on the mat will not. So I love the roller because people really get it on the roller. If you're feeling really great, bend the knees a lot, keep the legs together, squeeze them together, and lower all 10 toes down and up. As you feel even more confident, you can reach out further. Okay, I still find that difficult, but then again, I tend towards lumbar lordosis. So everyone's unique. Now let's do a little bouncing. Opposite arm to leg. And switch. Getting some of the gait patterns, the walking patterns in here. This is how we walk. If you want to make it especially cool, you're going to look towards the side of the arms that's lifting. You can also look opposite. Ooh. Okay. And then sequencing to a more advanced, here you are. You might want to just lift it up a little bit, okay? I don't want you falling and hurting yourself. For you, you do this on the ground, not on the Cadillac, unless you're an advanced practitioner. I also like to add, ta-da, just to challenge that balance. And the other side, you'll notice that one side is harder than the other. It's very common. People are always asking me, why? Usually it's because we have one pattern that is just not as developed as the other pattern, and the roller's a great place to develop that pattern. So what I might do if I'm feeling like one side is a lot harder than the other is that I'll just take it to this and start warming up the pattern this way. Might even stretch long like so. And then just even think to lift up a little bit on this side here. Okay. Okie dokie. So I think I'm going to stop there because that's plenty of information for you, plenty to work with. I like to get off the roller after letting my head go to one side and the pelvis go to the other and just kind of release it out. Oh, blah. And then I lay on my back. Do a few inhales and exhales. And then roll off to the side. Push up. And you are finished. I hope you enjoyed that sequence.